Here the past few days I've had Babylon on the brain, especially that passage of Scripture given by the prophets that says, "Come out of her, O my people, for the time has come to judge Babylon." Come out of her, my people, come out of Babylon. The prophets were pleading and urging and begging and crying out for the people to extricate themselves, to take themselves out of Babylon. Because if they were found in Babylon, when the time was come for God to judge and pour out his wrath on Babylon, then God's people, along with the Babylonians, would be destroyed. So the prophet was warning the people, God's people, the Israelites, to get out of Babylon before judgment happens, before judgment falls, before the wrath of God comes, or else they'll get caught up within that, and then there's nothing that can be done. They'll be lost. Very similar to Lot and the story of Lot. Now, there's a lot of preachers out there who will try to make Lot look like a backslider, but the New Testament scriptures, I can't remember which New Testament passage. I want to say it's maybe in one of the letters of Peter. Could be wrong, but it talks about righteous Lot, that the ways of the people of Sodom grieved the spirit of righteous Lot. But see, a lot of old-timey preachers kind of give you that indication that Lot was a backslidden person, and he just kept moving closer and closer and closer to Sodom, and all of a sudden he's in Sodom, and he's a lost cause then. But what had happened, if you read the passage carefully and look at the land and look at the climate and the weather patterns that were going on at that time in history, what most likely happened is that Lot, like his uncle Abraham, was a nomadic shepherd. He chose to go one way, and Abraham chose to go another. He thought he was going in the direction of land that was plush and lush and sustainable. But drought had come, and it wreaked havoc upon the land. And so as the resources of water and grass become more scarce, he saw himself moving closer to Sodom and getting closer, because there were more resources there, and what he was lacking out in the wilderness he could find in the city. And then it just wasn't feasible to sustain himself or to sustain his herds on the plain anymore. And you see him ending up moving into Sodom to survive, to stay alive. And you know how the big cities have convenience. You have everything you need right at your fingertips. So we see that Lot had become a part of the city of Sodom. And then the New Testament scriptures talk about how the character and the actions and the sin of the Sodomites grieved righteous Lot and grieved his spirit. So when the angels came to visit Lot and gave him the ultimatum and the warning to say, hey, get out of Sodom, because God's wrath is about to fall on it, and if you're not gone, you're going to get caught up in the punishment, in the wrath, and there's nothing we can do about it. So get out now, get out while the getting's good. And as this was going on, the Sodomites knew that heavenly beings had come to visit Lot, and they wanted to have sexual relations with these angels. And that had been going on for a long time, since Genesis chapter 6, when the sons of God, aka the fallen angelic race, cohabitated with the daughters of men and produced the giants, the Nephilim, the men of renown, these angelic human hybrids. So they were very well familiar of having intercourse with fallen heavenly beings. However, these heavenly beings that were visiting Lot were not fallen, and they had no intention of being subjugated or submitting themselves to these Sodomites. So these Sodomites surrounded Lot and told him to send out these heavenly beings that were visiting him so that they could have intercourse with him. And he said, don't do this. And I'm paraphrasing here, but basically they got all high and mighty and righteous and self-righteous, and the Sodomites are like, well, who's this guy who come living among us and is judging as he is? So if you look at the narrative and look at the Hebraic language, it kind of implies that once Lot became a citizen of Sodom, he eventually became some sort of leader within the city, holding some sort of office, possibly a judge, because that's kind of what they're saying. It's like, oh, he moved among us and become this judge. So anyway, these angels get Lot and his family out of Sodom. And Sodom and Gomorrah was judged. God's fiery wrath rained down and just totally leveled and destroyed the city. Turned it to a pile of salty, sooty ash. Now, if Lot lagged around and stayed around, and if the angels didn't drag him out, and they would have stayed in Sodom, Lot and his family would have been destroyed by the wrath of God. And so that's what the prophet was saying about Babylon, that the people needed to get out of Babylon before God's wrath came and fell upon them, and they were consumed, with the Babylonians in the wrath of God. Babylon. Yes, it was a physical, literal place, and like Sodom, it was very depraved and decadent and full of idolatry, paganism, and sin of all sorts and unseemliness. But Babylon is also a philosophy. It's also a world system. And it's the system of the devil, the system of Satan, the system of the fallen one. And it's totally opposite of God and totally opposite of his laws and instructions found within the 5 books of Moses. So basically, whatever is in the 613 commandments of Torah, Satan is wanting to corrupt, to pervert, to flip on its head, to actually do the opposite. Woe to them who call good evil and evil good. That's the whole name of the game with Satan. And that's what he has done in this world and in this society. The scriptures, the New Testament scriptures tell us that we, and even Yeshua himself said that we as believers are in the world, but we are not of the world. It's a difference between being in and of. Lot was in Sodom, but he was not of Sodom. The Israelites were in Babylon, but they were not of Babylon. Why were they in it? They were in it physically, but they weren't of it spiritually, because they were dedicated to the God of Israel and to his laws and commandments and word. So as we are living in this world, it is a type of Egypt. It is a type of Babylon. It is a type of Sodom, full of depravity and sin. We are in it, but we are not to be of it. But if we stay in it any longer, we will become part of it. There's another passage that comes to mind that where the New Testament writers are talking about, and again, this is just coming off the top of my head, and I can't cite the chapter and verse in the book at this moment, but it's basically talking about those who are, corrupting or perverting the gospel of God, the truth of God, the scriptures of God, and they're false teachers, false prophets, etc. And if you welcome them into your home or wish them well when you send them on their way, you are participating with their falsehood. You're participating with their false doctrine, with their false gospel, with their false prophecy, religion, what have you. And a lot of times we equate that with not inviting a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness into our home when they come knocking on our door, and especially not wishing them well and God bless when they leave. And that's kind of the modern equivalent that we've interpreted and applied that passage. But we can equally as well say these things about the world. If we are in this world and not of it, if we stay in it any longer, stay within the confines and influence of its system, meaning media, social media, television, movies, the music industry, Hollywood. It's propaganda, news agencies. It's magazines, it's books, it's secular, godless, atheistic, hedonistic, pagan philosophy. If we stay in it much longer and allow ourselves to be subjugated to it and therefore slowly lulled to sleep by it and thus influenced by it, and we're in it and we're tolerating it, we'll eventually go to that level of accepting it. And once we go to the level of accepting it, we'll go to that level of embracing it. And then we're lost. And then we've participated with the sin of the world, and we are up for God's judgment just like everybody else. So I've been thinking about how social media and how the small screen and the big screen, television and movies, have been pushing the LGBTQ plus agenda. They've been trying to normalize it. Not only that, they're pushing the abortion issue and saying that you're a nut job and you're crazy if you want to ban abortion and that you're not sympathetic. They're saying that if you want to build a wall to protect our borders from illegal immigrants, then you're xenophobic. You don't have any love or compassion for your fellow human being. They're trying to spin it that way, and that if you believe in the Second Amendment, then you believe in guns and you believe in the wholesale slaughter and killing of people, equating what people do with guns to guns itself. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. It's a heart problem. It's a mind problem. It's not a gun problem. There's other topics and other agendas that they're pushing and trying to normalize and trying to get people to accept. And so the news, the television shows, the movies are being flooded and inundated with these themes. And you can't escape them. You can't get around them anymore. Used to, television and movies were pretty safe. If it was a rated R movie, you saw the trailer and you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to go see that because it's pushing this and promoting this, and it's against my faith, against my convictions, etc. It was easy to stay away from that stuff. But now, because of the censors on TV and in Hollywood have lowered their standards, what used to be rated R, or what used to be rated X, is now rated R. What used to be rated R is now rated PG-13. And what used to be PG-13 is now PG. And what used to be PG is now G. So you can't trust the rating systems, because they're leaking in and slowly leaching in and allowing things that 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago would not have been allowed on TV or in the movies, or would have been highly restricted. It would have been underground, would have been on the black market. You can't even watch a TV commercial without them pushing the LGBTQ plus agenda. A commercial for shampoo and they got to throw the gay thing in there. Or I even saw an ad for toilet paper and it had a gay couple. It's just getting ridiculous. And so, now that we have more of a variety of options to choose from as far as how we entertain ourselves, we don't have to depend on, cable or satellite, or the big 3 or 4 broadcasting systems. We can stream through Amazon Prime or Hulu or Netflix or what have you. But it's getting so bad that even these original shows by Amazon and Netflix and stuff are pushing these godless, anti-Judeo-Christian value, anti-biblical lifestyles and agenda, trying to normalize them, trying to get people not only to tolerate them but accept them, not only to accept them but embrace them. And a lot of times we find a show that we like and they'll throw in that, anti-Judeo-Christian biblical worldview with that gay character, or that, very hedonistic worldly character, or with the issue of abortion, or whatever, immigration, whatever. or just some kind of liberal agenda, a leftist liberal agenda. And you'll say, oh, well, it's just one person, or, oh, well, it's just one character, and you just kind of overlook it, and then that character gets really embedded in the system, and it's not just that, oh, well, this character's gay, and that's all there is to it. They actually have to elaborate on this new character's lifestyle. I love superhero shows. I'm a big geeky nerd. I was watching Supergirl on Netflix. Well, Supergirl's sister ends up being gay. And as if they just left it at that, I would have been, okay, whatever, she's a lesbian. But then they had to create a whole secondary subplot storyline with her life and her lovers, and I'm like, nope, I'm not watching the show anymore. I'm drawing the line here. Can't do it no more. Because I don't want to be a part of that. Because if I watch it, I'm gonna get desensitized to it, to where it's not such a big deal. I want it to stay a big deal with me. It's just like language, foul language. Now everybody's throwing around the F-bomb. Even people who profess to be born-again believers and Christians are throwing around cuss words. Man, this used to not be the way it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I got a really big lesson in desensitization when I went off to Bible college in Nashville, Tennessee. I spent a whole college year being in a very controlled, very sheltered environment. Didn't watch TV. Didn't hear any foul language. When I went home for the summer, and the first time I heard a cuss word, whoa, it just like shocked my ears. It blew me away. Because I hadn't heard it for so long during the school year. And then as the summer went on, I got used to hearing cuss words again. I got desensitized to it again. It didn't shock my ears like it did. Well, it's the same thing with what we subject ourselves to on television. If we start watching these television shows and these movies that have prominent gay characters and themes, or prominent anti-Judeo-Christian values and liberal agendas and propaganda, we're going to be desensitized to it. And we may say, oh, well, I don't believe in that, and I reject it. But you start to become soft towards it. It no longer offends you. It no longer shocks you. It's there. You tolerate it. The next step in that parade is acceptance. That's just the way it is. Don't matter how strong you think you are in your convictions and your beliefs. You will start questioning what you believe and why you believe it. And you will fall away. It's just a matter of time. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect your eye and ear gate. What you hear, what you see, what you read. You got to protect yourself. Just like Job, he said, I made a covenant with my eyes that I will not look on another woman. Because he knew if he let his eye wander, he would start to lust after these women and be unfaithful to his wife and unfaithful to God. I mean, it's been about a week now since I killed my Netflix. I got so sick of the trash and garbage. And some of the shows were so awesome and cool, but yet that they had to throw in that liberal agenda, that anti-Judeo-Christian worldview, and I just couldn't take it anymore. It's like I could not excuse it anymore just because I like the show, like the theme, like the storyline. I could not excuse it anymore and allow myself to watch that. And like with this whole big Game of Thrones thing, I'm glad it's finally over and done with and the series is done. But I had believers, friends of mine, that were watching this. And it had softcore, well, some of it actually was hardcore porn. It had porn on it, man. I mean, just people just totally butt naked doing the nasty. And, they were like, oh, but it's such a compelling storyline. And the nudity, it's necessary to the plot. Really? You're really going to try to go that route with me? Whatever happened back in the day, back in the 30s and 40s, when they were implying that characters had sex? They never showed it. They may have showed them going into a hotel room and shut the door and you knew what happened. Or they may show them kissing and the camera would pan away to a silhouette of them kissing. And then you kind of drew your conclusions. It didn't take a rocket scientist. They did the same thing with murder. You didn't see the slashing, blood and guts gore and the torture and the murder that you see on the small and big screen today. If somebody was being killed, you saw somebody pull out a knife and draw a knife and had it up in the air. They panned away and there was a silhouette of the knife going down, and you knew that and then somebody screamed. You knew this person was stabbed. They were killed. Or they would have somebody pull a gun and pan over to a brick wall and you heard a gunshot and a scream. Well, you know that somebody got shot. They got killed, right? You didn't have to see all the blood and guts to know what happened. You're not a dummy. Your imagination fills in the rest. And see how we've become desensitized to torture and murder? Because we see it all the time in TV and movies. So I killed my Netflix. I really felt the Lord saying, come out of Babylon. Come out of her, my people. I'm about to judge this place. Come out of her. Come out of the philosophies, the world systems. Come out of this godless entertainment. And so I got rid of my Netflix. I'm like, I can be spending that $15 paying off bills. And I can spend the time I'm watching Netflix reading God's Word or reading good, holy, wholesome things, or watching, good, godly documentaries or what have you. So I found, we got the Roku. So there's a lot of good, godly stuff that you can find on the Roku that's kind of replaced my Netflix. So, and I don't even watch satellite TV that much anymore. There's very few shows that I watch. And these shows, it's MMA, it's boxing, it's combat sports, it's a little smattering of the news here and there, and then maybe like a few shows. But these shows don't push that stuff that I'm getting tired of seeing all the time. And like I said, you can't even watch a commercial anymore without them pushing stuff. This anti-Judeo-Christian biblical value stuff. And so when it comes to commercials, I will mute the commercial and start reading something or draw my attention elsewhere until the commercial's over. So I don't even have to watch or listen to the commercials. And it's great when you have the Roku because, you can get these programs without even having to deal with the commercials. But I see a line being drawn in the sand where either you're going to be a wishy-washy believer and make an excuse just because you're addicted to the show or you like the show, and you're going to make an excuse to watch it and you're going to become soft and desensitized, or you're going to put your foot down and say, you know what, my relationship with God, my integrity, my standards, the standards of the Bible are not worth this show. I love God more than I love Netflix. I love God more than I love this show. I love God more than I love whatever this latest, greatest thing is on TV, social media, or on the big screen in Hollywood. There's a lot of movies and franchises I no longer watch anymore because of what they're pushing in the movies. And it's sad. I'm starting to buy DVDs, television series and shows that I used to watch back in the day that were good, wholesome, and clean, so that I can break these DVDs out and watch this good entertainment stuff whenever I want to. So I'm getting more disconnected from this world. I mean, I don't listen to secular music. The only secular music that I listen to is classical, opera, stuff like that. I don't listen to secular music anymore. So I don't even listen to the radio. I don't even know who's popular or who's not, or who's the latest singer in the top 40. I don't know any of that stuff because after they left the whole rock and roll phase and went to this bubblegum R&B kind of junk, that's not my speed. That's not my style. I don't listen to it. And what music I do listen to, it's the old school Christian rock and heavy metal or Christian contemporary or praise and worship, something like that. That's what I listen to. I'm getting more disillusioned and disenfranchised with this world and the things of this world. I no longer want to be a part of it. It no longer has the attraction or the draw for me anymore. And I feel like I'm coming out of Babylon. And a lot of other believers I'm connecting with online, I'm finding they're doing the same things. They're getting rid of cable and satellite. They're getting rid of Netflix. They're getting rid of all this worldly, godless stuff because it's just not safe to be around anymore. And they're getting more into the Word. They're getting more into ministry and boots on the ground kind of things. And they find they're not missing that stuff. So a line's being drawn in the sand. And I think there's going to be a civil war coming between true believers and people who call themselves believers. or who pawn themselves off as believers, that are immersing themselves in this pop culture, sicky sweet, godless entertainment. So I'm just kind of giving you a testimony of what God has done in my life and what's happening in my life, what he's done with me. And if you're a true believer, I think you've been hearing the call. I think you've been hearing that still small voice and feeling that tug on your heart to come out of her, to come out of Babylon, to come out of this worldly, godless system, this worldly, godless form of entertainment that is just desensitizing you to accept sin, to accept what God calls wrong, evil, what God calls an abomination. So yeah, I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world. I'm pulling myself out of it. It's not worth the sting of my conscience. It's not worth the suffocation and the muffling of God's voice. It's not worth that wedge that comes between my relationship with God. It's not worth being desensitized and being brainwashed with the propaganda. It's not worth it. I love God and I love his word and I love Messiah Yeshua more than I love pop culture, more than I love the things of this world. And if it makes me old-fashioned and old fogey, out of touch, I don't care anymore. I don't care. I know who I am. I know who God has called me to be. I know what the calling is on my life. I know what my gifts and talents are. I know who my God is. I know who my Messiah is. I know what his word says. And I know where my loyalties lie. I know where my commitment lies. I've made my decision. I have decided to follow Yeshua. I've decided to follow the one true God of Israel. I've decided to follow his word, to walk in the footsteps of Yeshua our Messiah by walking and following his Torah. For forsaking the world, forsaking the whole world, I forsake the whole world. Give me Yeshua. Let the things of this earth, the things of this world grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. We've got to stand apart. We are called the ecclesia. We are called the kahal, which means, in the Greek and the Hebrew, a called out congregation. We are a nation of priests. We are a called out nation, a called out people, a people called unto God himself. We are called out. We are to be holy, which holy means we are to be set apart. We are to be holy as God is holy. God is set apart from all the other lowercase g's, the lowercase gods. He is the King of kings, Lord of lords, God of gods. He is set apart. He is holy. We too are to be like him. We are to be set apart from the world and the things of this world. We're to be a set apart people, a set apart nation, a royal priesthood. You can't do that when you're sucking on the teat of this world. You can't do that. You've got to come out of her. So I hope that you'll make the decision that I've made, and I hope you'll do what I do and do what I did. And start extricating yourself from this world and from the things of this world. Because when judgment comes and judgment falls, you don't want to be caught up in it. You want to be in the world but not of the world. Because if you're of the world, then you're gonna get wrapped up in the wrath of God when it comes and falls. You won't be separated from it. Come out of her, my people, for the time has come to judge Babylon. Get out of Sodom and Gomorrah, because all hell's about to break loose and fire is about to fall from heaven. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Love ya. Go out there and have a great day. God bless. Abraham'sDescendants.com. Getting back to the first century in a 21st century way. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press the like button as well as the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and the notification bell that'll let you know every time I make a new video. And don't forget to share this with a friend. Also, visit our website at Abraham'sDescendants.com. Thanks. Shalom. Thanks for watching. Stay connected by subscribing to our other social media accounts and visiting our website at Abraham'sDescendants.com.